Thank you to everyone for joining. I know some people will be coming in a little bit, but they won't miss the introduction, so I mean, you can talk about yourself a lot anyway, so it's all good. Welcome to Kala times ASAP's talk, Nurturing Artistic Journeys Through Residencies, Opportunities for Developing Practice. I'm going to start off, some of you may already know what Art South Asia Project is, but if you don't, I'm going to give you a little bit of a bio. We're a UK-based non-profit arts education and development platform, and we're based in London and we're established in 2021. We're really working on the infrastructure of modern contemporary South Asian art, and we work with the countries of Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and Nepal, and the UK. So we work on grants programs, we work on partnership programs, we work on public programs like this one, and we're really about bringing everyone together and connecting people. So we're really happy to have Raki, who lives here, but you were also in Delhi before, and Rosa, all the way from London, her first time in Sri Lanka. Before I introduce our speakers, I'm just going to say a few thank yous. So we would like to thank Kala's founding partner, the building we're sitting in, Cinnamon Life, City of Dreams, the official banking partner, Hatton National Bank PLC, the exclusive media partner, Vijaya Newspapers, the Rukmini Thisanayagam Trust, and the Udeshant and Angelica Fernandez Foundation. We're also really grateful that the Kala Times ASAP programs have been supported by the Faisal and Shabana Foundation and Kisagoi. And thank you also to the Kala team, see a few of you here, and Saskia for being such wonderful partners to work with. So I'm going to introduce Raki first. He has a much longer bio, but I'm not going to read all of it because, well, he's great, but I'm not going to spend that much time on it. So Raki is an Austrian-Sri Lankan interdisciplinary artist. Growing up between two cultural poles, Sri Lanka and Austria, Raki developed a deep interest in identity, memory, and belonging. Raki is also the co-founder of SA, the highest land art biennale in Asia, in Ladakh, in India. Over to Rosa. Rosa Tyhurst, sorry, I should have said your full name, Raki. That is Raki Nikahetiya?
That's right.
Yeah. And Rosa Tyhurst is a curator from South Wales, based in South London. She currently works as curator at Gasworks, London, where she collaboratively devises and delivers a program of new artist commissions, residencies, public programs, and participation projects. She is a graduate of the California College of the Arts MA in Curatorial Practice. So I'm going to start with some introductions to what Raki and Rosa do. I'm going to ask you first, Raki, because I think my presentation is in alphabetical order, to give a little introduction to the residency programs and organizations of Ladakh, and after that, Gasworks.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here today, and thank you, Mala, to having and sharing this panel. Really nice to see Kala doing all this work now, and it fills me also personally with pride and happiness to see Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan art in the regional, but also in the more in the global map as well. So that's beautiful to see all the work which has been done. Our initiative has started as a belief, as a passion for landscapes and land art. It's Asia's highest land art biennale. It's about climate, culture, and community. We had in 2 editions over 60 artists, international artists, well established from Vivagalotra to Evin Wurm, but also to very young and upcoming artists from the region, from the Himalayas. We are very proud of our collaborations with 20 institutions from different parts of the world, as well as the private sector, to look at more academic approach to like land art making as well, and our digital reach now, which is reaching to like 1.5 billion over the past 2 years. But what does that actually mean? It's land art. When we started off as a failed attempt of a residency proposal. So that's how it links up when it initially started. Out of that idea came, it would be nice to have something similar with land art in the region, in our region, in Southeast Asia. 2 friends started it, Sagadeep Singh, who is an interior designer in India, and myself, and then Jamyang Tenzing, who is a mountaineering pioneer in the Himalayas. People from complete different backgrounds. I was the only artist. came together to start SA. We had, because of different reasons, a love for these magnificent landscapes. Who has been in the Himalayas before? Great. So like 3-4 people know the Himalayas. For the others, it looks like Mars. It's like a very fantastic landscape, otherworldly. If you put any artwork in there, it looks magnificent. So it's an easy job. But it's also very difficult to work there. When we started it, we were collaborating with Disco Valley Bike Park at 3,600 meters. Very thin air, beautiful sights, but very thin air. And we had 20 acres of land. And initially, we wanted to do it with 2 friends as a land art exercise. But then when you stand in 20 acres of land, you see it's quite big. So we thought it's a good idea to invite more artists. That's how we started inviting local artists with the wonderful academic organization led by Dr. Monisha Ahmed called Ladakh Arts and Media Organization. We gained access into the local community, and it took some time to get the trust as well from the young artists who are not very exposed to the art networks, not even in India. So there we found it very interesting to engage. And then we always believed in communication and dialogue. I think also what Carla is doing with the collaborations. Only there you can really have meaningful exchanges, we thought. So we started engaging, I'm an Austrian artist, with the different institutions and the cultural bodies of the European countries in the beginning, but then also with other institutions step by step. So it grew. And then we thought, why would you like to do this? I mean, we had this residency program to what we'll speak about it a bit later. But why are we actually doing this? Why are we putting all these efforts in thin air and putting artworks into rocky terrain and landscapes? Are we doing this for our own ego? Or are we doing this to have a lot of virality and get a lot of likes? And we thought actually deep about it, and I was passing by now in Colombo, you have these beautiful banyan trees. And that was also a link to that. In Meghalaya, in India, you have banyan trees as well, and they connect it to root bridges, and they do it not for your generation, but for the generations to come. So SA at its core have multi-generational thinking and deep time thinking linked to it. And with that, we thought we want to engage the next generation. I mean, we have a lot of students here, which is great to see, from the university. And that was the attempt from us to create early memories, not in that context with art, it's academic, but then with the memories for the students, it was very haptic. So you could grab, you could work together, you would take them to permaculture farms out there, we would let them meet the artists. So we wanted to look at it for the years ahead, and out of that, SA is slowly evolving, and it's a continuous lesson of failures, coming back to that, and learnings, and it has been very exciting to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Raki, and over to you, Rosa. I know that some of us know Gasworks very well, but I think a lot of the audience won't, so it would be really amazing if you could introduce Gasworks and your work there.
Of course. First I want to say thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you to Carla, thanks to Saskia, thanks to ASAP. It's my first time in Sri Lanka, and I'm having, honestly, a pretty life-changing experience, so thanks very much. So, about Gasworks. Gasworks is a leading non-profit arts organisation based in South London. If anybody knows the Oval Cricket Ground? Maybe? A few people? Great, we're right next door. So, come and watch some cricket, and then you can come and see some art, some of the best art in the world, I would say. So we work with UK and international artists, and since our founding in 1994, so we are 31 years old, we've worked with over 600 artists from 80 different countries. And I'd say really the core of what we do is support artistic development in very different shapes and forms. We're also very interested in cultural exchange, and not only from people learning from London, but people learning from each other and further afield. So our programs, they consist of exhibitions. We host 3 or 4 exhibitions a year. These are generally solo exhibitions by international and UK-based artists. Currently we have exhibition by Nikahetiya, who is an artist from Thailand, and I'm wearing some of his artwork today. A little promotion there. These are generally solo exhibitions, so it's one artist, and they're generally new commissions. So we work very closely with the artist to imagine, conceptualize, deliver, produce, all these type of things directly with them. We are a studio provider, so we have 7 studios in the building where artists based in London can make their work. They're subsidised, so they are slightly cheaper than they would normally be, and they provide kind of security and stability. That's our beautiful building there. So studio, what else? We have a participation and education program, which allows us to engage and work on a meaningful and long-term way with our local community and various community groups that we partner with. And we also run an international residency program, which is the reason we're all here today. And so every year we host up to 20 residencies. We can go into the specifics of that later, but they're all 3 months long. Everyone starts at the same time, finishes at the same time, and they're for artists from all over the world. Currently, we have artists from the Philippines, from France, from Italy, and from Angola. But we work with many different artists from many different places across the world.
Thank you so much, both of you, for introducing your wonderful residency programs. As this is an audience, oh, sorry, I just hit myself with the microphone. As this is an audience who may not necessarily know that much about an artist residency, I wanted to ask you both, what do you see as the impact of a residency on an artist's practice? And could you talk a little bit more about both, obviously there's lots of opportunities, but also being the challenges of being part of a residency? And whoever wants to go first.
Okay, maybe I'll go first. So hopefully everyone's familiar with the concept of a residency. No one. Okay, some people. So they take shape in a lot of different ways. So I can maybe talk how Gasworks runs our program. Our residents are selected generally by open call. So there will be an advert on our website, on social medias, and people can apply to do the residency. Generally, they're mostly country or region specific, and at the moment we have open calls for artists based in Tunisia, Georgia, India, and Pakistan, and Greece just closed last week. Residents, if they're selected, residents will have 24-hour access 7 days a week to a studio at Gasworks. They get accommodation at our residency house. We support the visa process. We pay for return flights. The artist receives a small weekly stipend and a small materials budget. They receive a travel card, so they can travel all over London for free. There's a page on our website. We make a video interview. We provide networking opportunities. They meet curators. We go on trips outside of London. What else do we do? We do meetings with them, and we socialise with them. And at the end of the residency, there is an open studio event where the artists can present their work. So that's what it looks like at Gasworks. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the artist doesn't pay anything. So it's totally fully funded, and the idea is that the artist can be in London, can experience what an incredible place it is, and make their work, make new connections, try out new materials, find new investigations. So that's what residency looked like. I can't remember the question now.
That's okay. It's very helpful to run through what a residency looks like, because we can assume all these terms because we engage with them on a regular basis, but it's really nice to have them laid out for people who may not know. But yes, I'll give you the questions again. So what do you see as the impact? I mean, obviously you talked about the opportunities that you do give an artist who comes on a residency, but what do you see as the impact of a residency for an artist's practice? It could be short term, it could be long term, but I think we have a question about long term later, so we can start with short term. And could we also talk about what do you see as the opportunities and challenges of being part of a residency? I don't know if you want to start, Raki, and then... Oh no, please go.
So there was one quote that I wanted to share with you all, which is from one of our residents who was with us in 2023. So this is when they were reflecting about the residency experience. So every part of the residency is intertwined, meaningful, and important. Everyone at Gasworks has been wonderful, of course, friendly and approachable. Getting to know London, the city, the people, and its long history has been a real joy. If I could say one thing that stood out as an important experience, it would be the invisibility. The invisibility as a person of not having to explain my race, ethnicity, or gender. The invisibility as an artist of not having to explain or having to derive from my or any geopolitical position because I already am. And people are smart enough to figure it out and get on with it. Basically, creative freedom. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, so, if we talk about the impact of what a residency can mean and how it can impact an artist's practice, that is one of the reasons why I do this job and why I love it so much, because you can really see how it can really transform an artist's way of working, their practice, but also their lives. It's huge.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah. Great. Just to add to that's beautiful. For us, it's similar. I think residencies in the overall context, it's this period-long learning or unlearning about your own process and having a space where you can do that, which gives also creative freedom and liberty to do so, and a supportive network. And I think this is also something what we wanted to do. I mean, in arts, there's always the idea about like gatekeeping, and we want to like create the thing where we are gate opening, and create like a platform, I guess, with the residency as well, to have a mechanism which is two things. One is to scare you a lot, because like it will push you to your boundaries sometimes when you have to be in a situation when you're in London, for example, or in the mountains. You're new to a space, you can be scared, and it pushes you out of the comfort zone, which is a good thing. But that also linked with the community which supports you, that you know that you're not in this alone. So that is it's a beautiful thing what you said as well. Like that is the bipolarity of like residency. You're in a complete, especially when you're young and you're starting it, complete different context. But it gives you like a supportive network academically that you learn with it. But I think sometimes the residency, the beauty is that you are experiencing something completely new, and that can feed your artwork afterwards.
Exactly. We would always try and select artists that have maybe never been to London before. So they all arrive at the same time, have never been on the Underground before. And for those who know London, the Underground can be an interesting place. But they're all in the same boat. They're all kind of fish out of water maybe, and they're learning together, which again, you know, I always tell this story. When I started working at Gasworks, I thought, okay, the artists will learn from me. But actually, I learn from them, and they learn from each other. It's kind of not about me. It's about what goes on with their group and what they're doing, rather than any input from me.
Yeah.
Sorry, turn my mic back on. I think we spoke about this quite a bit when we were preparing, and I think we've definitely went on a rant, which we're not going to have now. But and obviously, both Gasworks and SAR are great examples of residencies. What do you think makes a good residency, without being like, what do I do is great, but what are the aspects of a residency that, and also what could be an aspect that maybe wouldn't make a good residency, and what could an artist avoid in looking at them?
Yeah, I think that it starts with the intent of the artist and their art practice, what they want to get out of it. The intent is definitely something very important when you select a residency. Why are you doing this? What is the reason behind you going for it? Is it the name of the residency that it's a cool thing to do and it looks good on your CV? Or we're actually looking at like pushing what you're already doing into different directions? The intent is an important one, and then I think like once you select, of course, then there's commercial aspects to it. Can you afford doing it? Then there's other things linked to it as well. How easily accessible is it from the proposal writing to getting a residency? To living and like working there. So there's like challenges linked to it. I think a good residency is something which has a whole package and is accessible for like different people. But of course, like residencies, as I think all the students have perhaps seen, are very specific. So you need to, before applying, I think, need to know what you're going for. I mean, when I started off, I would be like interested in every residency, like because it's like, what shall you go for, right? I mean, there's so many things, and then slowly you can like fine tune the things, the approaches you want to take.
Yeah, exactly. I would always recommend people look at the artists that have previously done our residencies, what position were they in their careers before having that opportunity, and where are they gone to. We were going to talk about alumni a little bit, which I skipped over, but it's wonderful to see kind of the trajectory of some of our residents and where they've got to now. For example, on the 2023 Liverpool Biennial, about a quarter of the artists were Gasworks alumni, which is amazing, and it's such an honour to be affiliated with that place. Other recommendations for residencies, I think it's really important, like you say, you know, why do you need this opportunity as an artist now? Why this space specifically? How is this going to kind of make a difference in your practice? Rather than, you know, you would not believe the amount of applications that we received that I can see they've just changed the name at the top. You know, they've just said, instead of, you know, delete one place, put in Gasworks. Really, it's really important to understand the context of where you're going to be and what you might do there, I think, as well.
Thank you both. And obviously we're situated in Sri Lanka, and obviously ASAP works a lot with South Asia, or mainly with South Asia. And so obviously,
I hope so.
Yeah. And Rosa Gasworks has worked in Pakistan and Bangladesh and India. And
I need someone who's been there a bit longer.
well, I mean, we know at least
we've worked with a lot of artists from South Asia.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously you're situated in India with Ladakh. And I wanted to kind of think about how can an artist's residency build and expand cross-cultural dialogue, because we speak a lot about artists going abroad or artists leaving the region. It's also interesting to think about, with residencies that happen locally as opposed to internationally, and what are the values of those residencies. And I know in the earlier talk, the first talk today, Saskia talked a bit about Hampi Art Labs as well, and that's a regional residency as well. So I think it'd just be interesting to understand from both of you, what do you think about how a residency can build and expand cross-cultural dialogues within South Asia, but also internationally?
I mean, it's something really special, I think, about one of our residencies is that the period between, July to September, we have an artist from Pakistan and one from India, and you know, them being able to be together and learn from each other is a really special moment, and knowing about their histories and how their works might intersect. But all the groups we have are incredibly international, and I come back to the WhatsApp groups a lot this time, where there's always a WhatsApp group for the international residencies that they kind of manage, and I love to think of all these groups that just continue the dialogue. Obviously during the residency, you know, oh, are you going to this opening? Are you in? Can you pick up this parcel? But also further than that, right? The ones that keep on going when they encounter works that might be interesting for each other, when they're continuing to learn and develop from and share information with each other. I think it's really beautiful. And then they pop up and see each other in an art fair in, I don't know, Peru or something like that, and it becomes really, really special that those connections that have built and then can continue to expand and grow and change. And for sure, we've had artists that have stayed friends from their residencies. I'm sure there's been lovers. I'm sure there's been haters as well. But those connections are really, really strong through the artistic practice, but also through the interpersonal stuff as well. I don't know so much about more kind of regional or rather than international residencies, but maybe you know a bit more than me.
No, but I think that really resonates, and I think coming back even, it reminds me of a European model, the Erasmus model, which is really beautiful, where students in the young age go from country to country, and I did it myself, and I did study very little during that period, but I met a lot of interesting people, and you have bonds for life, and that's the magic of a residency as well. So I think residencies are good, especially for two aspects. It's a diplomatic tool in one way or another, and it's for you yourself as an artist. It's expanding your mind and the worldview. So that's a beautiful thing. The power of residencies. We are having for the first time an exchange program where we're getting a young First Nation artist from Australia over with the collaboration with the Biennale called Fremantle in Perth. And we are sending off a Ladakhi artist. And this Ladakhi artist, for the first time, they travel down there. So of course, there's a university there, but it's also a beautiful thing because you're like finding something new again. Mm-hmm. So I think this change, or like going from place to place, is something ingrained in our species. and to use that to a benefit of exchange, of thought, of dialogue, which Carla is also doing. I think we were talking with the artists who are coming from different parts of Asia, is a beautiful way of, I think, bringing not only art together, but also bringing communities and people together, because these artists will go back and share their experiences. So I think it's definitely something which we need to nurture regionally, but also I think globally more.
Yeah, I love that going back is so important, and why we would always try and select artists from who are living and based in the country, because although we only have this one opportunity, hopefully that artist comes to London, then goes back and then tells all their friends, and they tell all their friends, and etc. So the web gets broader, and it means that, you know, despite only having this one chance, hopefully other people can experience it and kind of grasp a little bit of the time that artist had in London. It's really special.
And obviously, I mean, we've got 31 years of Gasworks. 31?
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously with Ladakh, we've got
3 years.
3 years. Very good. Well,
Fresh off the boat. Yeah.
So I mean, we'll talk about alumni later, but I wanted to understand, Raki, with it being such a new program, how do you hope that the immersion in the Ladakh environment will affect artists going forward, but also have you already seen artists come back and say, this was amazing, this made me feel this way, or this has completely changed my worldview about X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you a story about it, because like when I went in to create land art, you have these ideas and beliefs what you want to do, but then come to the challenges when you work in this context here, from gangs to rabid dogs to like mudslides, snowstorms, different things which are outside the white cube space. So you need to figure that out, and you have to become humble. So like you have to leave your ego out. So that's what we sometimes have to say also, like artists who are more established, I guess, when they're coming into the space, how to deal and how to engage with the community. This is like a really important aspect of it, I think. But looking at it, for us, I think how it impacted a lot of artists is that out of this hardship of creation, of changing your mindset, okay, the nature will dictate what you will do. You start rethinking, because you can't, your Amazon Prime account won't help you to order something there. You need to really work with the materials which are at site, or with the community you have to work with. And sometimes that creates, the lack of things creates creativity as well in their own right. And it creates strong bonds between the artists we saw, and it's beautiful to see sometimes very senior artists working with junior artists together. And the magic is, because everybody wants to have a work which then goes either viral, or it's like nice to look at, and that's of course important to create beautiful art, but the actual beauty we found is in the process itself when you work there. So I think through the process, to this like weeks or months sometimes, working together in a difficult environment, you have like shared dinners, and as you said, like you spend a lot of time together, creates bonds. And out of that, a lot of artists get additional benefits. So when we talked about this banyan trees and deep time thinking, we are doing something which we call regenerative art making, where we're looking at the whole life cycle of the creative process. So all the artists who are working there have to think about these sort of aspects as well. And out of that builds a community, then the WhatsApp groups, which then help artists like, you know, like same artwork will go to the Lahore Biennale, and that keeps on ongoing. So I think with the residency, for us, it's important that it doesn't stop just when it ends, but the community maintains the collaboration.
Yeah, I'd love to touch upon, again, you were saying this idea of flexibility, or being nimble maybe with your practice. I mean, often we find some of the challenges of artists when they come to London is that materials are so expensive. I remember Sadia Batul, who's an artist from Pakistan, she is an incredible artist working generally with canvas, with painting, with photo transfer. And she was like, she uses canvas like we would use newspaper. You know, there's this village in the studio, grab a bit of canvas, put it on the floor. And canvas is incredibly expensive in London. So it really encouraged her to be flexible, to think about different ways of working, Odo Ronald, who was from Uganda, again works with tin, works with aluminium. What we ended up doing was buying, I think about 4 stacks of pop, like Coke and Fanta, which all the staff had to drink, and then he used the material out of that because we couldn't figure out a way to get this material for him. But it requires us to have to be really flexible always, and to think around different ways of doing things, and for the artist to be open to that, right? Which must be a selection of what you do when you pick your artist.
Yeah, I mean that's the selection process, because it takes time. I think like now we have like a more rigid process, which is almost like a job interview. So I mean, for everyone, I guess it's the same, like with the residency interviews as well. When the application is one part of it, but then I think the person who's working there has to like fit into the community. So that's crucial as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And from your residency programs as well, it's so important to understand there's a good fit and there's a good ability for that selected researcher or curator or artist to work amongst the environment, the situation.
Definitely, and we recognise that there's definitely burnout being an artist or being a curator, and I mean I think we spoke about this as well. But when you do a curatorial fellowship, sometimes there is this. You do have to produce an exhibition at the end of it, and you do have to show an output. But I'm actually quite interested. I mean, obviously with you do have an artwork at the end of it. But with the Gasworks residency as well, I feel like it's more process driven, and if there isn't an artwork at the end of it, it's not the end of the world. But how do artists engage with that, and how do artists engage with having to produce and the pressures of that as well in South?
So back in the days, there would always be a residency, always be a residency and an exhibition at the end, and we'd always find the artists would spend the whole time in London in their studios getting really, really worried and trying to make all this work and stressing themselves out, and we thought, no, this isn't what it should be like. So there's no exhibition at the end of the residency. It's really, the opportunity is meant to be self-led, it's meant to be process-based, and I'm always just happy when the artists almost aren't in the studios. They're in London, they're researching, they're meeting people, they're trying things out, they're going to museums and seeing whatever, because in my opinion, artists can make the work later. You know, you can do all the research in London and then go back to your studio and make the work when you're at home. So what we do have is this open studio, which some you might see do performances, like Kusama did. Some artists choose to make it more of an exhibition space. Some artists, an artist from Indonesia we were working with, just showed a big stack of books that he had read and an old film that he had made on his laptop, and that was it. We do ask that the artist is present, so they meet a lot of people, they meet our supporters, they meet our audiences, and they're there kind of engaging with the program. But honestly, there's no pressure on them, hopefully, to produce anything on the site, which hopefully then allows them to be a bit more free. You know, we're talking about this idea of creative freedom again. You know, if there was a goal at the end of it, perhaps we wouldn't have that. Saying that, though, I end up really getting attached to some of the artists, and then we do it and invite them to exhibition, because I fall in love with their work and their way of thinking, and and then get the show out of it. So, but that's only maybe a year after.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, for us, it's in a way similar, but you need to produce something in the end, right? So like that's the name of the game in terms of like, okay, you're land art, you need to produce land art. But it's a bit of a trick, because we always say you need to have a concept and an idea when you come into it, but actually it changes drastically once you're in the space, and that's when we keep it completely open. We had one case of a Swiss artist who came in with potential installation, and that was the idea of doing it, and we did a collaboration with an institute there, and that was the idea of doing it. But then when she started engaging with the community, it was a very short poem, which she printed out small and just kept it on a rock, and that was it. So we say it's going to be an idea you need to like produce, but then in the dialogue, once they pass a certain stage and you're in the space, it's about exactly that you have complete creative freedom to look at the materials, to look at the community which is there, with the people there, to like push your ideas and boundaries. I think in your head, it's a fight against yourself on how and what you want to create, and on how you explain it, not to others, but to yourself. And that's the critical thinking, I think, which comes into play afterwards.
Yeah, and I think although it's two very different models, like at least you go into knowing that going into your project, you know that there's going to be an artwork produced at the end of it. And again, with us, we know that there's no exhibition, there's no kind of requirement for an object or an exhibition to be produced at the end. And again, I think advice for looking for residencies, make sure it's very clear what's asked of you. Hopefully, when you're looking at the application process, you'll see this is what's required of you. Is it to make an artwork? Is it to make an exhibition? Is it to do a talk? Do you feel comfortable doing that? So it's, when you're looking to apply for these opportunities, make sure you kind of see what the outputs are and see if that's something that you can do and feel comfortable with.
Just quickly add something. I mean, that reminds me actually, the nicest time was the time during the foundation course, where you can do whatever you want actually, right? So you experiment around. So I think residencies sometimes are an excuse to be back in the time of that play state, where you're almost like a kid again, and you can experiment. And that is also the magic of a residency, right? Yeah. Occasionally, that it's free, as you said. Like you're nobody. As you read, there's no name tag.
Exactly. You can be invisible. You don't have maybe some baggage that you hold on to in your home country. I know I did a residency in Italy and just felt super free. No one really knew me there. I got to be myself. I got to operate in a different way, and it's a real special part of the residency.
Yeah.
And obviously it's quite a big time commitment. So I think when you're applying, making sure you don't have a lot of other commitments that you've signed up for at the same time. And obviously it's hard when you apply, you have no idea you're going to get it. So I think it's like a patience, but also just being like, is there room in my life for this? And if there isn't, because you're not going to make the most, you're not going to be able to play, you're going to feel like, I have to produce this artwork at the end, because what's the point of me being in London otherwise, or you do have to kind of. But so I think it's just like having that awareness of how much time it's going to take up in my life, and do I have the room for it. But I think it's interesting, Raki, you started touching on this with the interview process and how you apply. There are a lot of artists in this room, and some may eventually, hopefully, be applying for residencies or thinking about them. How can artists access or apply for residency programs? I'm going to break up my questions, so I'm going to start with that, and however, which of you wants to start?
Well, first of all, I'd like to plug this website I've just found out about. It's called artconnect.com or artconnect.ops on Instagram, which I was on it the other day, and I can't believe the amount of residency opportunities there are in the world. And it's endless. So take a look at it. I can send the link around. It's really wonderful. So first of all, starts with the application process is find the residency that makes sense for you. Let's start with that, I think.
Yeah.
Then what do we do? If there's a residency you like the look of, then you have to put together your application, see what's required of you. For our residencies, we ask for 10 to 15 images, a statement about your work, a proposal of what you might do in London, and then if you want to include a CV and any press that's relevant. So we try and keep it simple. And another top tip would be, don't add more images than we ask for. So if someone's asking you for 10 to 15 images, please don't put in 45. It'll just annoy whoever has to look through it. So really try and keep to the rules as much as you can. When you're also writing your statement and your proposal of what you might do, I'd always encourage you to have in your mind kind of why are you the right person for this opportunity, and why now in your practice is this relevant? Why should you be in London? Why is this going to change your work? How is it going to develop it? Because there's plenty of artists. One artist from Brazil, Iris Helena, she applied 5 times for the residency and got it on the 5th time. So those other moments they weren't the right time for her. Maybe it wasn't the right moment in her practice, or it didn't make sense with the other artists that were in the group. But maybe perseverance is another thing that we should talk about when we talk about applications as well. Keeping on trying, honing your application, and making it as tight as possible. We get loads of applications, which is a real privilege to look through all the applications and to learn a little bit about the art scene in certain places. I know a lot more about cities and countries that I've never been to before. So keeping it concise, and keeping your images as good as possible. So if you can put any money into your applications, I put it into great documentation of your artworks, or you can use some sneaky magic on your phones.
Yep, I mean, yeah, sounds exactly. And just to add to that, I think what also helps is to get it sometimes reviewed before applying. I mean, I bothered my wife quite often with that. But also with lecturers you have, maybe with trusted people who know your process. It's good to like have a second read at it before you apply. And I think
Yeah, shout out to all the partners. Mine who looks at all my writing and all my applications. But yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe you have contacts to an artist that's already done the residency. Get them to have a look at it. Or if not, you're from the same country, drop them a message. Have you got any advice? You know, and more often than not, they'll say, yes, you should do this, X, Y, and Z, and good luck. So, you know, it's really, and then even if you don't get it, you've made a connection, which is also really, really important in this world, as we all know, to kind of make those networks and make those connections and collaborate, to come back to the theme of the day, it seems.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I mean, we ASAP also receive a lot of applications when we do an open call. So I think it's like making it easy for someone to look at, because they are reading, I mean, you've got over 100 for just, I don't know how, more than 100 applications for just one place, and that's a small amount of applications. So making sure that when you're sending an application, that it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, and you're trying to make someone be like, yeah, I really actually do want to take this person on. But I think the other thing before I ask the next question is, as you say, if Iris, she applied 5 times, then she ended up in Liverpool.
No, not that.
No, different one. Anyway,
different one.
But anyway, she sort of got it on the 5th time.
Exactly.
And the point is that the more you write these things, the more you actually understand your own practice. And I think writing about your process, writing about it actually helps you. So even if it's not, if it's a failed application, the 1st or 2nd or 3rd time, you're still getting closer to explaining what your practice is about. But just I mean, you can go and I can ask the next question.
No, I was just going to say on that, I was working for an artist as their assistant once, and she was applying for the 4th plinth in Trafalgar Square. There's an empty 4th plinth where London Mayor, I think, commissions new artworks, and she was nominated for it. It was very exciting, and she didn't get to the shortlist, but she was like, you know what? That's fine, because she's done all that research, all that work, all that thinking that she wouldn't have had to do before, all that writing, and that really helps articulate your practice and makes you learn about yourself and think at the same time. So, yeah, rejection, failure, I think was something we were going to talk about before, wasn't it? It's going to happen for sure. You will get knocked back, but hopefully you'll learn and develop from the process.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. I think start to enjoy failure. I think it's something you need to keep on doing and going. The more you fail, I mean, fail better. That's the thing, right? So like you keep on failing better, failing upwards, and you need to keep on going. And like if somebody says no to you, that doesn't mean that's the right time. It's like the 5th time. Yeah, exactly. That's completely fine. But you need to just like keep on going with your own process and start enjoying that as well. Yeah. So I think that's sort of the only way to proceed.
And also from these applications, you might not get the residency, but the work has been under the eyes of myself, our assistant curator, our director, and our independent panelists who helped decide the residency. So it goes in somewhere for sure, and so maybe that'll be an exhibition, maybe the curators move on, directors move on, and then remember the work. So you might not get it, but it goes in the brain somewhere, in the archive.
Yeah, in the archive.
Obviously there comes with subjectivity when you're looking, I mean, it's hard not to be a little bit subjective when you're looking at artworks. But what can make a portfolio really stand out, apart from the ease of reading and not too many images for you both?
I think the human brain is lazy, right? And that also is accurate for the person who is reading it. Because if you have 100 applications, at some point your brain gets tired. And you look for something which is easily to like understand. Of course, you should not do that, but you need to like really look at certain things which really fit the box. And if you have such an overwhelming load of information, it's difficult to digest. So I think what really helps is to, as you said, like get your documentation right, but also your online presence, how you present yourself, take time, even with typos, look at on how you write, review it again. The little things sometimes go a long way. So it's very important, I think, to make it easy for the person who is reviewing, because it's your self-interest of how that will look like, because it's how you present yourself to the world in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Nothing else to say on that. It's super important how this presentation happens. And if you think about it, so for our residency of artists based in Brazil, we get over 350 applications. And if you think about it, so if I spent 5 minutes on each one, I'd probably not be doing anything else for that month. So we sometimes have to spend less than 5 minutes on your application. So it's got to stand out, and it's got to be really compelling. Don't put your oldest work first, put your newest work, or the work that most represents your practice first, so we can really see it as soon as we open the PDF application. And yet it's, and the same as you, I mean, I'd love to spend more time on each application, because I know how long artists spend on them, but just the reality of it is that we can't all the time. You find it too, I'm sure.
But just to add to that, actually that's also something we thought about, because it's really hard actually to get a no. Right? So like when you receive this like no message, we are very grateful that you submitted, but and that's really hard to get. So we thought as well, in a way, I mean, I think that's what you're also doing, is like make it more personal, and it's sometimes nice to then get back to each of them. To like sometimes offer that, okay, that doesn't matter, like if you want to have a chat, like open it up for a discussion if you have the capacity.
Very nice.
If you have the capacity, yeah.
Exactly.
Because not everybody, so just to keep it open, we found like it helps, because like out of 15 we feel maybe one will ask. Yeah.
That's really kind.
But I think it comes back to that point of time and the space, and as Rosa has said, she works on the exhibitions, the programs, the artists who actually are in residency as like in a carer kind of, or host mode, if that's the right way of saying it. Yeah. But also then has to select every month artists. So it's also that kind of ability in an institution. I wish we all had biggest amount of time to read everything in that time, but also, I mean, Raki, you're an artist as well as being the co-founder of this organisation, so it's just making sure you're caring for yourself as well as looking after the artists that you select.
Yeah, 100%. And we, as I said, we run 20 residencies a year. We're constantly working on every single one at the same time, which I know sounds a bit of a mind scramble. But for instance, we work with the current residencies who are actually in Gasworks at the moment, and we're sorting out flights and visas for the next group, and we're selecting the group after, and then we're writing the reports for the group that have just left. So every single one is currently on this cycle around in my brain, which makes it tricky to find enough time and to give that enough love and support to all the artists that do apply. But I guess coming back to the social stuff, though, if you engage with Gasworks' work and what we're doing, maybe there's ways that we can connect in different moments. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I have a few more questions, so if no one asks a question, I can ask them. But if there are any questions in the audience, please do put your hand up. Yeah, okay. I think it might be off. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not an artist, but I ask on behalf of artists. So for example, I worked in Afghanistan, and there were some amazing artists. But because it was a country that was hard to reach and hard to get people out, there was very little effort made by galleries or any sort of programs to involve them. And I'm just wondering how you decide on where you're getting your artists from. Do you make a sort of concerted effort to reach out to artist communities that are not very accessible, whether it's Sudan or Zimbabwe or Afghanistan, or how do you do your outreach?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the question. All our residencies have individual funders, either trusts or foundations or private individuals. and maybe we can get into some really boring chat about art funding in the UK, but generally they will be very committed to a certain region or a certain country. So for example, the residencies we have at the moment, we have a private individual who only supports artists from the Philippines. We have a private individual who only wants to support artists from Africa, and we work with a few trusts and foundations from different places. So first of all, we have to find the funders who want to support artists in certain countries, but equally we try and have as big a reach as possible, and we think a lot about places that we haven't welcomed artists before. It's something really is on my mind a lot. And before you ask, Sri Lanka is on my mind a lot, especially being here. We have a lot of people who do want to support residencies, which is absolutely incredible, and again, such a great honour. But you're totally right. There's definitely countries that we haven't hosted before, and it's something that we're trying to change. We brought in new residencies this year for ones for maybe 4 years for artists based in different countries in North Africa. So it starts off in Tunisia, and then it will go to Algeria and Morocco, I believe, to be continued. And also artists, so we'll do one Georgia, Iran and Armenia next as well. So again, places that have never had residencies before, and also one from places never had artists from there before. So we're changing things. I mean, that's a bunch of new residencies. But if you know any great funders from Afghanistan, please let me know. Or who would like to support artists from those places. We have a few a year that we can select the country, and we always try and reach places that we haven't reached before. It's really, really important to us.
Yeah, I mean, for us it's also like a very important question. I think one way of talking and going about it was a collaboration with institutions from those countries, like the Italian Cultural Institute or Curator or Residencies. The different bodies might be able to support it, but in case of Afghanistan, for example, where there's no such thing, if that's the case, then we were also interested that the resources should not limit the access. So we've been trying to like do something linked to digital residencies, because it is much better to be there in person. But if there's resources and limitations because of X, Y, Z, we were looking at models to like how could a digital residency look like? I mean, learning from the period of COVID, where we were not moving, how could that look like? So we are at the moment trialing certain things out, but yeah, maybe that could be something, but it's linked to resources, of course.
This is a question for Raki. Sorry if you had addressed it already and I missed it. What is the infrastructure that's in place in Ladakh? So when you say they're coming to do this land art project, so it's a residency in the form of a land art project. Where is it that they're actually producing the work? Where is it that they're actually living? Where is it that they're actually getting the materials from? And you said, they have to be sensitized to the community. So could you just tell us a little bit more about the community participation or collaboration aspect?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very key for us as well. When you go into like a different landscapes and you're from not that region, you need to be very sensitive on how you approach it. So our majority of the collaborators are from Ladakh, academic as well as farming communities, women communities, sustainable development communities who are also working, for example, with GLX, who are working in Sri Lanka. So there are different, like Local Futures. So there are different organizations which are from there, which have access to the communities. But that's why we thought about this whole regenerative art making practice and the carrying capacity. Of course, we have like these billions of reach digitally, which is good, but then actually how many people are coming, we look at the carrying capacity of the space, because Ladakh, where climate change is happening, it's almost like a little outlook into our future, where when you have 1.5 at sea level, up there it's 2.5 or more. So it's happening much more drastically. So you have to look at not only the community aspect on how you engage and sensitize your artists to engaging with those sort of communities, but also each footprint we do. That's why we do it via climate optimism, where we are engaging also the schools and the communities to build. We are having collaborating hotels we are working with, so the artists will be hosted there. We will be working at site. So the site is next to Leh, which is the capital of Ladakh, which you can reach with 1 hour's flight or 14 years of driving up there. So it's normally the flight, but then of course we are talking about climate change, but we was talking today in the morning, we are flying people over, how can you offset it? So it's not about getting it like, you can't ever get it perfect because our pure existence is like creating carbon emissions. So it's how you look at other models to positively contribute to like a climate change narrative and a context with partners who are already working in that sphere. Yeah.
Hi. So my question is about the maintenance, especially because like normally when we talk about the artworks in the gallery space or art fairs, there might be people who take care of the works, and they always have their eyes on those works. For this place, especially Ladakh is a kind of place of tourists come and people always engage with the space. So in that way, like for example, the Stanton's work is kind of fragile material. So like how long the works are on the display, or how the people are maintaining them, like like not enter the other people, they can't touch the work, because if some, for example, if some kids come, they will run away, it's broken. So it's a part of that, or like how you maintain that kind of things, the kind of security and yeah.
Thank you. There's absolutely no security up there. So there is security. I'm just kidding, but like the climate will dictate what's happening with it. But this is also like a thank you for the good questions. This is also a very key part of it. That's why this whole regenerative art making. I will give you an example. Perhaps Sansin is the artist who actually will go to Australia. But there's another. So all of the artwork, from sourcing it to what happened next with it, should not have a negative impact into community and place. That's one part of it, so people are thinking of it differently. We had an initiative last year with the India Art Fair where we had like cardboard boxes outside as an installation. So it was like a site-specific installation between two artists. The process was interesting. We engaged with a lot of students to like create it, because cardboard boxes are a material which creates a lot of carbon emissions. What can you do with it? So we worked with the community to do it, and after the exhibition ended, some went into collection, some of the pieces which the artists individually did, but the majority of the cardboard boxes, it was over 200, went into installation for a school. So we used regenerative art making to like have a purpose for the artwork after it ends. So the life cycle continues. And that's what we also try to do with, this is Viola Borden. Oh, no, it's okay. Thank you. This is Viola Borden, like an American land artist. And that material will be taken off, will be going to another exhibition. So everything will have a life cycle. It's similar to, I think, like general on how art goes. But then in this kind of context, because you're working in these landscapes, you need to also think on, okay, are we leaving waste behind?
And if you ever find people damage it or change it or amend it in any way?
I mean, we have sometimes stray dogs which are going in the landscape, so that can be a problem. It's difficult to tell them the guidelines. But we normally have the community around, so they will be looking at that nothing is happening. But then it's part of the artwork itself, because it's the beauty of it. Sometimes Manisha Baswani was doing, Indian artist, she was doing like a piece, and we tried for like a week to assemble the installation in the right way she wanted, but the wind had a different idea. And ultimately it was the wind which dictated the work, and that was the beauty of it. So like you need to like rethink on what perfection looks like.
Yeah. And being nimble again,
yeah.
and responsive to the environment.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I just had a question based on what Raki's talked about digital residencies, and obviously Gasworks model relies on a lot of international travel. How does Gasworks consider, or I don't necessarily you don't need to speak on behalf of the organisation, but how do you consider this kind of offsetting and trying to make it a more sustainable environmental model?
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's very at the core of what we do is bringing artists from different places to London. I will say we're trying to encourage the few European residencies to travel by train, which is again a very, very small part of what we do. But the Italian artist who we are hosting at the moment came by train. It took him 18 hours, but he did it, so kudos to that. Obviously, the French artist, that's 2 hours, so it's super easy. So where we can, we ask for train travel, and we have many other kind of environmental protocols within the residency, within our building, within the residency house. But sometimes there's no getting away from it.
Yeah.
It makes it very interesting during COVID time. What happened then? What happens to an international residency program when no one can travel? And the model shifted to offering residencies for artists based in the UK, which was a way that the model could be a bit more sustainable or during that moment. But now we're back to where we are.
But you have just launched a London residency as well.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Well, it's a studio bursary kind of award. So with our studio program, we have seven studios, 11 artists, so some of them share, and we have a new opportunity currently for artists based within London who will receive a studio for free for 3 years and have a materials budget each year as well. So there are ways that we can support our community in London as well as the ones from very good as well.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, I will. Oh, there's one over there.
Hello. I have actually 2 questions. My first question is how it's challengeable to work with this kind of environment, and my second question is you have to plan this before you work in these sites. Is it accurate as planned? You plan before the artwork, the outcome of the artwork. Is it accurate?
Never. It's never accurate, and that's the beauty of it in a way. I think you in your mind it might be accurate on how you want to plan it, but working in those landscapes, depending on the material you work with, it can be different. But that sometimes for the artist, normally they're happy with the outcome of the artwork, but it's never according to the initial drawings or the concept. So the process breaks the concept. And it will change on what you will come out with in the end. But I think it's quite interesting because this is just not the final part, right? So this will inspire that particular artist to do something else. Or if you don't manage to get it completely right, that's also great, because you think like, oh, actually I want to do it, learning from this practical thing, I would like to do it differently at the next exhibition. So the learning never ends in that kind of way. So it's never accurate.
You spoke about earlier. You spoke about the Ladakhi mountains being very fragile. What do you think of? Have you spoken to the local Ladakhi people, and how have they received the Ladakh initiative?
Ladakh, it's very difficult to work if you don't have the community engagement. So we need to work very closely with the community, and because so Jami himself is a climbing pioneer, he has a community background there, but we are working with like-minded people who have been champions in the region. I think it's always important when you work with communities that you engage and identify community champions who have the right mindset, but also have an influence in the community. And then awareness raising is also important. So like out of 4,000 people who came, majority of the people were Ladakhis. So it's a local initiative as well. But then you can like scale it up and like invite certain people. And as we said about the carrying capacity, we are looking at we didn't have any printouts for the exhibition. We had nothing. It was like more word of mouth and like digital reach, which attracted people. but you must have the community engagement. So it's at we will have an advisory board now with key members of the Ladakhi community, from royalty to local community leaders. So like different people will be engaging to advise. It's very important. Yeah.
I think I will wrap up because there's another talk quite shortly, but thank you so much to Raki and Rosa. And if you want to learn more about both organizations, follow them on Instagram or follow their websites. And thank you so much to Saskia and the Kala team for having us. And there will be more Kala Times ASAP talks tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara.